My dear friends, there are nights when the body is already tired, but the heart is still sitting beside an old name. The room is quiet. The phone lies face down near the pillow. No message arrives. No message is sent. And yet, inside you, a whole conversation continues in the dark. You remember a person who once felt close. A friend, a brother, a sister, someone you could speak to without measuring every word. But now, between you, there is a silence neither of you wants, and neither of you knows how to end. One part of you wants to reach out. Another part whispers, "Why should I be the one? They hurt me too. Let them come first." So the night grows deeper. The hand does not move. The chest grows heavy, and what began as a small wound becomes a quiet trap. Tonight, we will not ask who was right. We will enter a forest, beside a still lake, where a deer, a turtle, and a small bird once showed what friendship becomes when love stops trying to win. My dear friends, before we walk farther into that forest, let us make a gentle promise. This story is not here to force your hand. It is not here to tell you to apologize before you are ready, or to return to a place where your heart was not safe. The path of wisdom is not the path of self-abandonment. Tonight, we are only learning how to look. There is a kind of silence that protects us for a while. After a wound, the heart sometimes needs a door. It needs a little distance, a little darkness, a little room to stop bleeding. But there is another silence, quieter and more dangerous. It begins as protection, then slowly becomes a wall. Behind that wall, we keep repeating the same old sentence. They should come first. And each time we repeat it, the wall grows a little higher. The teaching of this night is not punishment. It is not blame. It is not karma spoken like a verdict. It is only the simple seeing that every thought, every word withheld, every cold reply, every hand that refuses to move, plants something in the field between two hearts. So let us listen softly. In a story retold in Old Path White Clouds, the Buddha is shown telling children about a deer, a turtle, and a small bird. A story from long ago, and perhaps, also, a story from tonight. My dear friends, before the forest opens, let us arrive more fully where we are. You do not have to let go of anything yet. Do not force the heart to become peaceful. Do not ask the mind to forgive before it is ready. Simply notice that you are here, held by the quiet weight of the night. Let the shoulders fall a little, as if they have been carrying a coat soaked with rain. Let the jaw soften. The tongue can rest. The space behind the eyes can grow dim and wide, like a room after the lamp has been lowered. Feel the chest. Perhaps there is tightness there. Perhaps there is an ache, or a small stone of waiting. You do not need to remove it. Just breathe around it, gently, the way water moves around a rock in a stream. Feel the bed beneath you. It is already doing what the heart has forgotten how to do. It is holding you without asking you to explain. Your back, your hips, your legs, your tired hands, all of them can be carried for a while. And with one quiet breath, we turn toward the old lake. My dear friends, and so, with the breath a little softer, we come to the old lake. In Old Path White Clouds, the Buddha is shown sitting with children and telling them a story from very long ago. A story so old that it seems to have passed through roots, stones, rain, and the quiet memory of trees before reaching human ears. In that story, the Buddha speaks of a former life, when he was a deer living in the forest. Let us enter that forest slowly. The air is cool beneath the leaves. Sunlight falls in broken pieces through the branches, touching the ground like pale gold cloth. The earth is dark and soft from old rain. Near the center of the forest rests a lake, still enough to hold the sky, still enough to hear the smallest wing move above it. Under the water lives a turtle. Beside the lake grows a poplar tree, its trunk firm, its bark rough with years of wind and weather. and in that tree lives a small bird. The deer comes off into the water. The turtle rises from the lake. The bird watches from the branches. They are not the same in body. One moves with grace through the forest. One moves slowly through water and mud. One belongs to the air. And yet, my dear friends, they are friends, not because they are alike, but because, somehow, each has learned to recognize the life of the others. Before danger appears, before fear tightens around the heart, there is only this quiet meeting: hoof, shell, wing, water, tree. A friendship simple enough to be overlooked. A friendship deep enough to be tested. A friendship deep enough to be tested. My dear friends, look closely now, but do not hurry. The deer is not merely beautiful. In the old forest, beauty is not decoration. It is a way of moving without harming the ground. His legs are slender, but strong. His ears know the small language of leaves. His eyes hold the wide caution of one who lives without walls, without doors, without a roof to close against danger. He comes to the lake because all living beings must come to water. However graceful a creature may be, it still must lower its head. It still must trust the earth beneath its feet. And there, beneath the water, is the turtle. The turtle does not move like the deer. He does not leap. He does not vanish between trees. His body is close to mud, stone, root, and water. He carries his shelter on his back. To some eyes, he may seem slow, but slowness is not weakness. There is a kind of loyalty that never rushes, because it has no wish to impress anyone. It only stays. When the turtle lifts his head from the lake, the water slides from his shell like old rain from a temple roof. And above them, in the poplar tree, lives the small bird. The bird is light. A branch can hold her. A breath of wind can move her. Yet from the high places, she sees what those on the ground cannot see. She knows the trembling of leaves before footsteps arrive. She belongs to air, and because of this, she can travel between worlds: water, earth, and sky. These three are not equal in form. The deer has speed. The turtle has endurance. The bird has sight. But friendship, my dear friends, is not the demand that another become like us. It is the quiet recognition that another life has its own way of being brave. The deer looks toward the lake and finds companionship there. The turtle rises and finds trust. The bird looks down from the tree and finds a world worth watching over. Perhaps you have known a friendship like this. One person was quick. One was steady. One saw danger first. And for a time, no one needed to be greater. No one needed to be more wounded. No one needed to win. They only came, each in their own body, to the same water. They only came, each in their own body, to the same water. Then, my dear friends, one day, another set of feet came to the lake. Not the soft feet of the deer, not the slow, patient feet of the turtle, not the light touch of the bird upon a branch. A hunter had followed the deer's tracks through the forest. He had seen where the deer often came down to drink. And there, near the quiet edge of the water, he set a trap made of strong leather cords. Then he went home. The forest did not cry out when the trap was placed. The lake did not darken. The poplar tree did not shake its leaves in warning. The afternoon still looked like afternoon. The water still held the sky. The bird still had her branch. The turtle still had his lake. This is how some suffering begins. My dear friends, not always with thunder. Sometimes a trap is placed quietly, and the world appears unchanged. Later that day, the deer came again to drink. Perhaps the air was cooling. Perhaps the light was softening on the water. Perhaps, as he had done many times before, he lowered his graceful head toward the lake, trusting the familiar path beneath him. Then the leather tightened. The body that had known freedom suddenly knew resistance. The legs that had moved through the forest like wind could not move. The deer cried out, and in that cry, the friendship awakened. The turtle heard him from the water and began to crawl toward the shore. The small bird heard him from the poplar tree and flew down from the branches. They did not ask, "How did you get caught?" They did not ask, "Why were you not more careful?" They saw their friend in danger. That was enough. My dear friends, in the human heart, too, there are moments when someone we love is caught. And if we are not careful, we may stand far away and begin judging the trap, instead of coming close enough to see the trembling. But beside that old lake, the turtle came, and the bird came, and the afternoon, which had seemed so ordinary, became the hour in which friendship would reveal its true shape. And the afternoon, which had seemed so ordinary, became the hour in which friendship would reveal its true shape. My dear friends, the turtle came close to the trap. There was no grand gesture in him, no speed, no shining strength that the whole forest could admire. Only a small body near the earth, a steady mouth, and the quiet understanding that his friend could not free himself alone. The leather cords were strong, so the turtle began to gnaw, slowly, patiently, with the whole weight of his loyalty gathered into that one simple act. Above them, the bird understood that the hunter would return. She could not break the cords. Her beak was not made for such work. Her body was small, light as a fallen leaf. But she had wings. She had sight. She had the quickness of the sky. So she flew from the poplar tree toward the place where the hunter lived, doing what she could to delay him, to turn his steps aside, to give the turtle more time. My dear friends, this is the dignity of true friendship. It does not demand that everyone help in the same way. The turtle did not try to become the bird. The bird did not try to become the turtle. Each one offered the strength that belonged to their own body. Beside the lake, the turtle kept working at the cords. Time passed. The forest grew dim. Night came quietly over the leaves. Still, the turtle did not leave. The hard leather pressed against his mouth. His strength thinned. Pain entered his small body. But he stayed, not because he was foolish, not because he had no self-worth, but because, in that moment, love was not a feeling. It was a task placed directly before him. Sometimes, my dear friends, we forget this. We look back at a relationship and remember only the ways we were hurt. We forget the unseen labor, the quiet watching, the small efforts another being made, in their own limited way, to keep something alive. At the old lake, the deer trembled, the turtle gnawed, the bird flew, and the trap, little by little, began to weaken. And the trap, little by little, began to weaken. My dear friends, through the long dark hours, the turtle remained beside the leather cords. The night passed over him. The leaves cooled. The lake held the moon, then lost it, somewhere in the branches. The small bird watched and waited, carrying the same fear in her little breast that the turtle carried in his aching body. By morning, the hunter rose early. He took his sharp knife. He covered his face with a hat, so the bird could no longer fly at his eyes and delay him as before. Seeing this, the bird turned back toward the forest and hurried to warn her friends. The hunter was coming. By then, the turtle had gnawed through almost all the cords. Only one remained. One last band of leather still held the deer to the trap. The turtle gathered the little strength left in him. His mouth was worn from the hard work. His body was tired beyond tired. Still, he pressed himself to that final cord. Then the hunter arrived. The deer saw him and, in sudden fear, pulled with all his strength. The last cord, already weakened by the turtle's long labor, broke. The deer sprang free and disappeared into the forest. The bird flew up into the poplar tree. But the turtle, my dear friends, could not move. After all that effort, after the long night of staying, after giving his strength to free his friend, he was too exhausted to crawl back into the water. The hunter saw that the deer had escaped. Anger rose in him. He picked up the turtle, placed him in a leather bag, and hung the bag from a tree. Then he went into the forest, searching for the deer. Now the lake was quiet again, but it was not the same quiet as before. The water was still there. The tree was still there. The bird was still above. Yet something tender had changed. The one who had helped was now the one in danger. My dear friends, this is the way of many relationships. Sometimes the one who has been strong for everyone becomes the one who cannot move. Sometimes the one who stayed through the night is the one left hanging in silence. And sometimes, if we look only at our own escape, we do not see who paid the cost of our freedom. But the deer did see. He had not truly abandoned his friends. From behind the brush, he watched. He saw the turtle in the bag. He saw the danger still unfinished. And in that seeing, friendship prepared to take another form. And in that seeing, friendship prepared to take another form. My dear friends, the deer remained behind the brush, still and alert. He had escaped the leather cords. His legs were free again. The forest was open before him. He could have vanished into the green shadows and saved his own life. But the lake was not empty. The turtle, who had stayed through the long hours, was hanging in the hunter's bag. The bird was still near, carrying the sorrow of one who can see danger but cannot lift what is heavy. The deer saw this, and in the quiet place where fear and gratitude meet, something clear arose in him. His friends had risked themselves for him. Now it was his turn to risk himself for them. So the deer stepped out from behind the brush. He did not leap away. He did not show his full strength. He let the hunter see him. He lowered his front legs as if he were exhausted, as if the night in the trap had taken all his power. The hunter saw him and believed the deer was weak enough to catch. So he lifted his knife and followed. Slowly, the deer moved deeper into the forest, drawing the hunter away from the lake, away from the tree, away from the leather bag where the turtle waited. Step by step, breath by breath, the forest received them, and when the hunter had been led far enough, the deer suddenly gathered his strength. He ran swiftly, lost his tracks among the trees, and turned back toward the lake. There, beneath the poplar tree, the leather bag still hung. The deer came close. With his antlers, he pushed the bag until it turned over. The turtle fell free. The small bird came near again. Then the deer thanked his friends for saving him. He warned them that the hunter would soon return. The bird must move her nest. The turtle must go back down into the water, and the deer would return to the forest. My dear friends, no one stayed to be praised. No one stayed to prove who had suffered more. Each one simply did what love required, and then returned quietly to safety. No one stayed to be praised. No one stayed to prove who had suffered more. Each one simply did what love required, and then returned quietly to safety. My dear friends, when the Buddha finished telling this story to the children, the air around them was very still. The little ones had followed the deer into the trap. They had watched the turtle work through the long night. They had seen the bird fly again and again to delay the hunter. And when they heard how the turtle's mouth had suffered from the hard leather cords, some of the children were so moved that they were almost in tears. Then the Buddha asked them to look more closely. He asked them who, among them, might have been the turtle. A few small hands rose. Among them was Sujata. Then he asked who, among them, might have been the bird. Svastika raised his hand, and two other children raised their hands too, Jatilaka and Balagupta. Now, my dear friends, these two girls had not been sitting close together. The day before, there had been a small trouble between them. Not a great betrayal, not a wound that shook the earth. Just one of those little fractures that can come between young hearts. And, as we know, between older hearts as well. They had come to hear the Buddha, but they had sat apart. Sujata saw this. She looked at Jatilaka, then she looked at Balagupta, and with the simple clarity of a child who has understood a story not only with the ears, but with the heart, She reminded them that both of them had raised their hands as the bird. If both were the bird, then how could the bird be angry with the bird? Was their friendship less than the friendship of the deer, the turtle, and the bird? The words were gentle, but they entered deeply. Balagupta understood. She stood up and went to Jatilika. She took her friend's hands, and Jatilika, receiving her, put her arms around Balagupta. Then she moved aside, making room for her friend to sit close again. The Buddha smiled, and in that quiet smile, the forest, the lake, the leather trap, the turtle's labor, the bird's courage, and the deer's return all became a mirror. And in that quiet smile, the forest, the lake, the leather trap, the turtle's labor, the bird's courage, and the deer's return all became a mirror. My dear friends, now let that mirror turn gently toward your own life. Not sharply, not like a blade, but like moonlight moving across the surface of water. Perhaps there is someone you no longer speak to the way you once did. A friend whose name still appears in your mind at unexpected hours. A brother, a sister, a person you once trusted enough to speak without armor. Someone who knew the sound of your laughter before it became careful. And now, between you, there is a distance. Not always a dramatic distance. Not always a door slammed shut. Sometimes it is only a message answered too late. A call not returned. A sentence spoken with a colder edge than intended. A small misunderstanding that neither person repaired when it was still small. Then the mind begins its work. It gathers evidence. It says, "See, they do not care." It says, "You were always the one who tried harder." It says, "If you reach out first, you will lose." And slowly, my dear friends, the leather cords are no longer outside us. They are woven from repeated thoughts, from words withheld, from replies made shorter than the heart truly wished, from the quiet pride that would rather sleep beside loneliness than risk appearing to need someone. This is not to blame you. The heart protects itself after pain. This is natural. A wounded place does not open simply because someone tells it to open. But wisdom asks us to look carefully. Are you protecting your dignity? Or are you protecting a story that keeps you far from someone you still love? In the old story, the deer, the turtle, and the bird did not keep score. They did not ask who had suffered more. Each saw the danger of the moment and offered what they could. In our lives, the danger is often more hidden. It may be the silence that grows larger than the friendship. It may be the wish to be missed, becoming stronger than the courage to be honest. It may be two people standing on opposite sides of the same narrow bridge, each waiting for the other to step first. And all the while, beneath the waiting, both hearts may still be trembling. And all the while, beneath the waiting, both hearts may still be trembling. My dear friends, tonight, do not force yourself to cross the bridge. Do not turn wisdom into another command. Do not say, "I must forgive now." Do not say, "I must reach out before morning." The heart opens more honestly when it is not being pushed. Simply notice one chord, one thought you have repeated too many times, one sentence you keep using to make the other person smaller, one memory you keep polishing until it proves only your own pain. And if the relationship is still safe, still kind beneath the dust, perhaps you may write one small sentence, not to win, not to accuse, not to kneel beneath anyone's feet, but to tell the truth without a weapon in your hand. Something as simple as, "I have been thinking of you," or, "I do not want our silence to become larger than what we once meant to each other." You do not have to send it tonight. Sometimes the first seed is not a message sent. Sometimes the first seed is a message written, then held quietly, while the body learns not to strike. And if that person was not safe for you, my dear friends, then do not return to harm. Compassion is not walking back into a burning house. In that case, the new seed may be only this: to stop feeding hatred in the dark, to let the other person leave the courtroom of your mind, and to give your own heart back its breath. The deer did not return to prove he was noble. The turtle did not stay to prove he had suffered. The bird did not fly to be praised. Each one offered one honest act. Tonight, perhaps that is enough for us too. One honest act. One loosened cord. One breath that does not tighten the trap. One honest act. One loosened cord. One breath that does not tighten the trap. My dear friends, now let the old forest grow quiet again. The leather cords are no longer holding the deer. The turtle is no longer hanging in the hunter's bag. The small bird is no longer beating her wings against fear. The deer has thanked his friends and returned to the deep green of the forest. The turtle has gone back down into the cool safety of the water. The bird has found another branch, another place where the nest may rest beyond the hunter's reach. Nothing loud remains. Only the lake, only the tree, only the soft breathing of the night around all living things. And perhaps, somewhere in the hearts of the children listening, another kind of trap has also loosened. Two small hands have found each other again. Two friends who had been sitting apart have remembered that they were never enemies. So now, my dear friends, let this story do its quiet work in you. You do not need to solve everything before sleep. You do not need to cross the bridge tonight. You do not need to decide who was more wounded, who was more right, who should have come first. Let the body be held. Let the jaw soften. Let the chest rest. If a name rises in your heart, do not drag it into judgment. Let it pass across the lake of your mind like moonlight. The deer has entered the forest. The turtle has returned to the water. The bird is safe among the leaves. And you, too, may rest now. One breath, one loosened cord, one quiet heart returning to itself.